Welcome to the CyberJA podcast, the place where we discuss all things cybersecurity and GRC. I am Richard Perry, your cybersecurity and GRC enthusiast. The aim of this podcast is to provide a meaningful value-added platform via which upcoming cybersecurity professionals like yourself can gain insights from various topics covering cybersecurity and GRC that will enable them to become professionals that the industry demands. Stay tuned for what next on the CyberJA podcast. From being a veteran former FBI analyst to becoming a cybersecurity champion, strategic thought leader, we are talking about Daniel Magallanes. Daniel, thanks for joining us on CyberJA.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Super excited for, this conversation.
Awesome. And I too definitely look forward to, having this conversation. Based on your experience, challenges, things that you would have gone through during your journey, then no doubt you have a wealth of knowledge, experience to share with us in terms of providing those insights into your overall journey into, cybersecurity. So, Daniel, were you always into cybersecurity?
So, short answer, yes, but probably not into cybersecurity as a whole, but more into technology. I knew technology was going to be something that was just going to be part of our day-to-day lives. So I'm going to actually backtrack several decades. So when I was growing up, I had an older brother who convinced my mom to get a computer. And this is in the mid 80s. So this is pre-Windows, pre-everything. And it was a Tandy 1000 from Radio Shack. If you're not familiar with that computer, it was just a box with a built-in keyboard. It didn't have a hard drive, and it only had 256K of RAM. So our phones right now are probably a million times more powerful than that little computer. But it was just something magical with that. And I knew my career and our future was going to be revolved around this computer. I didn't even have internet back then. And so that was always in the back of my mind. So, and I know during that time and even into the 90s and even early 2000s, it wasn't considered, cybersecurity. It was just IT. But for me, I always wanted to get into cybersecurity. And the way I got into it, at least here in the US, typical US military, from the military transition into the FBI, into government. And then that kind of was, my initial journey to cybersecurity.
Awesome. So one of the things is that there are so many people who actually look at, for example, they might be looking at your profile and to be saying, wow, you have actually achieved gone through so many roles within your career. What actually drove you in terms of to say, yes, this is something that I really want to build my career in? And in fact, the reason why I ask this question is the fact that you have people who started out in so many different areas. For example, me, I started out, always loving architecture. That's the thing. And for various reasons, then I ended up finding myself in cybersecurity. How have you been able to navigate your way through the various roles in, cybersecurity over the years?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. I think it's a combination of having a game plan, what you want to do and how to get there, but also a little bit of luck, right? When you have opportunities that are, available to you, that's one thing. And that's, kind of luck plays into that, whether it's people people helping you out, or just kind of serendipitously dropping on your lap. But that's one part of the puzzle. You need to take advantage of those opportunities, right? You can't, let them go by. You need to give it your all, if that makes sense, to make your dreams and or aspirations come to, become reality. So for me, I think what it was, I had a goal, and my goal, I used to work at a call center, and the quality assurance manager, this gentleman named by Jonathan Stockwell, he was in the US Army. And when I would be in his office listening to our calls, how bad my calls were with customers, he had all these pictures up on the wall. And I started asking questions. And it turned out that he worked for the CIA. And for me, the only thing I knew about the CIA at the time might have been Bourne Identity or James Bond type of stuff. I'm like, ooh, that's what I want to do, right? And so he kind of planted that seed. He's like, well, if you want to, get into the CIA, then you need to. He recommended I go through the military route, and that was the seed that he planted. So when I was going into the U.S. Army, like 3 years after 9/11, I had a game plan. I'm like, I'm only going to stay there for 4 to 6 years and then transition into the CIA or FBI. And FBI, I was really fascinated by that during a 90s television show called The X-Files. So I was all, a super fan of that. So that was my goal. And as long as you have, aspirations or these goals and just write them down. Now, when you have opportunities that pop up, then you can say, okay, is this going to help me achieve, what I want to accomplish career-wise? And that was always in the back of my mind. And when I left the military and did get that opportunity, I interviewed. Again, those are opportunities that a lot of people don't have. They don't even get interviews by the FBI or CIA. And being able to prep for that and be successful and ultimately land that job. So it's all about writing a game plan. It doesn't have to be detailed because life always throws you curveballs that you can never expect. But having that game plan, and there's going to be times where you're going to be taking 10 steps backwards, where just life comes at you, and you just have to be resilient, committed to your end state. And this doesn't only pertain to our profession here in cybersecurity. This is everyone, whether you're a writer, an architect, musician, actor, actress, etc.
Sure. You've actually mentioned quite a few areas that I really want to, but you have actually mentioned something very important, and that you mentioned that you were actually advised by, I would say, well, someone that you were actually working with at the time within that organization. Can you talk to us in terms of the value of, I would say, mentorship, having someone to guide you, to provide you with that, to say, look, do this as a result because it has certain benefits. But one of the challenges is that I have heard so many people who have actually reached out to me to say that, well, I really want to grow in cybersecurity or GRC, but I do not know what to do, where to turn. How can I excel? Can you talk about the value that you have actually received as a result of someone actually giving you some sort of mentorship along your career path?
Extremely valuable, right? Because these are professionals, friends, colleagues, even family members that are in that profession, whatever that you're trying to get into. But in cybersecurity, or that mentor or colleague, friend, I didn't view him as a mentor, but he provided information that changed my entire life, unbeknownst to him. And I've lost contact with him after I left that company, but it's extremely valuable. But it's the other aspect is you have to be receptive. Some people don't like help because they might view it as a term of weakness, but that mentality is going to prevent you from excelling in whatever you want to do. But having a mentor or a teacher, or even a friend, right? And hey, I want to bounce some ideas off of you. What do you think? And it doesn't have to be a profession; it can be your best friend, a partner, etc., or even a colleague. But for my particular case, again, mentors have guided me throughout my career. One mentor, when I was in the FBI, he asked me, "Hey, why aren't you applying for leadership positions?" And I told him, I'm not ready, because the way I view leadership positions is you have new responsibilities that are above you as a person and whatever career that you're doing. You have to make sure that you're providing everything for your team, the people that you're leading, to be successful, right? So I'm explaining him, this to him, and he's like, "That's great, but do you think anybody else is, thinking that way?" I'm like, probably not." He's like, "Apply." But I still did it. And it still took several years, because I take leadership, extremely serious, right? That, you have a responsibility to train the new cadre of individuals. And I have no issue of any of them, become my boss, right? I don't have that ego. That's great if they're able to excel and, be good at, their trade craft. But overall, I'm super eager to give back. I've been privileged to be in this industry for, close to 20 years. And I do want to give back. And, I have a lot of people that, connect with me on LinkedIn. Hey, just like what you said, how do I get into it? How do I, what are the different aspects of GRC, or, in my specialty, cyber threat intel, or threat hunt, or red team, purple team. Because there's a lot of, I would say, noise out there that, hey, you should do this, you should do that. And actually, those people giving that advice have never really gone through that, right? But, if you don't have a mentor, find one. And it doesn't matter if you're CEO of a company, they still need mentors as well. And I don't view it as a hierarchy. I view it as a level playing field, almost kind of a symbiotic relationship, because you're going to be learning from each other, right? It's not going to be a one-way street of one person consuming information and the other one not giving back to that relationship, if that makes sense.
Sure, it definitely does. So, what's your thought? And I mean, is there any value towards, in terms of being a servant or volunteerism as a cybersecurity professional? And the main reason is that there are so many people that they want to excel, they want to grow, they want to maybe be enrolled in the next, what they would say, ultimate job that they're looking for, but they're not really spending that time to invest in giving back. It's all about me, I. How can I grow? And at times, I kind of see these people as, for example, as salespeople. I've actually met so many of them within my profile that would actually DM me to say, without even trying to build a relationship, do you have a resource about X? Can you give me this? Can you give me that? What's your take on this? Is that the right approach to actually excelling and growing?
Yeah, that's a hard one, right? I think, students or professionals trying to transition, they're going to be in a different mindset, right? They can't give in that situation, right? So they're going to be doing a lot of consuming, which is fine, right? As long as we have, mentors and leaders that want to give back, that want to volunteer their time, because when we do, it's going to make us, we're going to gain greater talent coming in, and also expand cybersecurity and make us, more safe than what we're currently at right now. In regards to the individuals always thinking about me, I don't believe in karma, but ultimately that definitely comes around. There's going to be a time and place when you're going to need help and you're not going to get it, right? But sometimes, and just trying to think of different, um, just different circumstances where people are in. Again, they might not be in a place where they can give back. So they're just consuming right now. In other words, gaining information, asking, hey, I need it for me, because it might be, I never want to, be judgmental and say, hey, you need to give back, because I don't know their situation, right? They might be in a desperate situation where they're taking care of loved ones, elderly parents, where, hey, it's all about me and my family, and I need information to get into cybersecurity, right? Again, everyone is going to be different, but as long as once they're in, giving back to that community, and it doesn't have to be hours upon hours each week, because I know everybody's busy, putting all these fires out in their respective companies, or if you're trying to learn a new role, you have no time to volunteer. You have no time to give back, when people are reaching there. So I'm going to use the lawyer answer. It depends, but I think once you're in a position to give back, I definitely you should, and kind of build up and share your knowledge, because that's going to make us all better in the long run.
Sure, and I definitely agree with you there in terms of the fact that it all depends. That lawyer response. And one of the reasons why I've actually asked this is the fact that I try to emphasize the fact that building relationships can actually, having those strong networks can actually help you far away, and it might not happen immediately, but you just do not know who will be opening a door, who will be at an organization that you're applying to, that you're unaware of, who might be saying, oh, yes, we did spoke on LinkedIn, you did share certain resources, and that's so, opportunities can actually be open for you as an individual. Thinking about your career journey, based on your levels of experience, over the years, can you talk to us about in terms of the various skills that you would have developed in order to move to the various roles in your career?
I think the biggest one for my career. So initially in the U.S. Army, I was intelligence, and I was the first one in my family to go into the military. So I didn't know what I was getting into. But ultimately, going through the intelligence route, I was able to get a security clearance through the U.S. Army. And that gives you access to very sensitive, government information. And that for me at that time, it was having analytical skills, right? Critical thinking skills to really process all the information that you're getting, and understanding where that information is coming. And this was early 2000. Fast forward almost 20 plus years. I would say critical thinking, understanding where information is coming from. And I'll use an example with one of my kids. They were watching some YouTube video with the Queen of England talking about playing Fortnite, some video game. And it was a lip sync, somebody talking like, the Queen. And both my kids, oh, the Queen plays Fortnite. Let's see if we can find her. I'm like, guys, she does not play. That's not real. Where's this information coming from, right? So being in intelligence, and then shifting once I got into the FBI, initially I was doing counterterrorism stuff, but eventually got into FBI cyber division. And there, the skill sets, again, it was all about critical thinking. So I took a different route, and more through the intelligence versus programming skills, engineering skills, electrical engineering type of thing. And then from there, the Bureau was able to pay for, the very expensive certifications through SANS, et cetera, to upskill on those technical skills and really understand, okay, what is really happening when we see a video, when we record a video online, right? And again, understanding that basic knowledge of how the internet works is going to be key, because you're going to need to understand that, again, from a threat intel perspective, how where are the gaps in our security coverage, right? How are the cyber criminals and the nation state actors going to break in to, I always use the analogy of a 1 million room mansion. That's our computer network with doors, windows. How are they going to break in? So to kind of sum it up, critical thinking skills, being able to be creative to solve our biggest problems, right? We need to be thinking outside the box, because all the new challenges that we're experiencing here in cyber requires new ways of thinking. So being able to be creative in whatever you do, you could be a painter and add value to cybersecurity, because you're looking at it at a unique, different perspective. But I think the key, again, for my through my experience, is being able to effectively communicate both written and orally. Because if you cannot warn your executives that a particular nation state or cyber criminals have techniques, tactics, and procedures, ways to break into your home, and we are vulnerable, and you can't communicate that to your executives or to your operations or tactical leaders, then that's going to be a miss, right? So for the skill sets, again, very unique when it comes to cyber threat intel. It's about writing, it's about communicating, and reading a lot. You need to understand the geopolitical events of what's happening right now in the world. How can that transfer or come into the cybersecurity space in our respective companies or federal agencies, wherever you work there, or even small to medium-sized businesses there. So, that's my route. Not everybody's going to go through that route. I know there is, the requirements that we have in our industry, super technical sometimes, right? You need programming skills, you need pen testing skills, you need to create a lab at your home. Again, it depends. If you want to be a pen tester, then yeah, sure. Those things in videos, I would say do the free videos first before you pay, for more of the technical certifications, if that makes sense there. But that's kind of my perspective in regards to the skill sets that you would need. And then from there, once you're in cyber threat intelligence, doing that for a year, 2 years, if it's not your cup of tea, then you should have obtained training to help you pivot to all the different roles within cybersecurity that are a little bit more technical.
Okay, sure. So are you saying that there is a benefit to be derived from, let's say, there are people who are maybe have their eyes fixed on a particular role? Are there benefits to trying out various different roles that are offered so that you're able to then see what works and align that with possibly your personality and your particular passion before you actually maybe just sit to say that I want to do X, and if it is not X, then I will not move forward? What's your take on that?
Yeah, our passions change, and our wants change as we get older. If we go back 20 years ago, I had a different mentality of what I wanted to do from a professional standpoint, right? And obviously even a personal life. So we change and we mature. You have to be, I think, flexible, and there are, I think, barriers to gain entry into cybersecurity. I think we as professionals create these barriers, and they tend to be technical and financial, because we're typically telling people, hey, if you want to get into cyber, you need to have your education or certifications, right? Neither of those two options are cheap. So who does that impact? That impacts minorities, people of color, that have that socioeconomic or low socioeconomic background that cannot afford those particular certifications. But then let's fast forward. Let's say they do pay for it, however means that they do, but then they're still not able to get into cybersecurity, right? Because again, if they don't have these job descriptions, have these unicorns that we need, a SOC analyst with 20 years experience and a CISSP, the Certified Information Systems, professional certification there, which is the top executive level, not for a SOC analyst. So with all that being said, you have to be flexible. I think what I'm seeing, I have a lot of mentees and students coming to me. They finish their certifications, they finish their school, but they're still not able to get in. Whatever route they want to do, whether it's GRC, pen testing, or cyber threat intel or hunt. So then they have to go for that IT tech support position, right? So ultimately they have to kind of change their mentality. And again, everybody's going to have to make their own decisions on whether or not they do want to, change. If they're dead set on being a threat hunter, but there's no opportunities, well, you have to, something's got to change, right? Whether it's to build up your network, learn, additional skills when it comes to, how to do effective threat hunting. We just have to be adaptable to whatever environment or whatever life is thrown at you. Sometimes some people are lucky, they have opportunities, they have networks that they're able to get into what they're passionate about and be successful at that. Others, they're not as fortunate and they struggle and they start questioning themselves and say, well, I'm not good enough. I need to just start at entry level so I can just get my feet at the door. And I want to push back on that. You are good enough. It's just, there's just a lot of barriers that we in cybersecurity have propped up, unfortunately. But you have to be adaptable. There are a lot of different things that you can try out. You can, if you're fortunate enough to get into cybersecurity and whatever that role is, it might not be for you for whatever reason, but then there's always opportunity to shift to another role in cybersecurity there.
Great point. Based on your experience, is cybersecurity an entry level role? Based on the fact there's the opinion for many people that I have a degree, I have X amount of certifications, then this makes me the ideal super candidate for a particular cybersecurity role. Is cybersecurity really an entry level job?
Yeah, it's again, I'm going to use an easy answer there. It depends, right? So if you and I were hiring managers and we need a threat hunt for a client, right? In that case, I think both you and I would agree, well, we're going to need somebody who knows how to go in there and do the job quickly, right? As opposed to, yes, we can take a chance on a new brand new threat hunter, but we might have to provide more oversight to get them up and running, making sure, one, they're not breaking anything on the network and doing something that they shouldn't be doing. So again, it's going to depend. Now, if you have maybe a junior person that shifted roles or decided to take another role, hey, well, now this is an opportunity, right? To bring in and take a chance. A lot of people are not willing to take a chance on people and develop them. Because I always hear, well, if I bring in somebody new to cybersecurity and I provide all the training, I'm giving them all the information they need for them to leave my company and make more money somewhere else. And that's a very short-sighted way of looking at things. Yes, I get it. There's an immediate loss, but think about potential upside on that. That person, let's just say they come in, they're there for 2 years, they get all the training and they leave. But then they're going to start telling other people, hey, this is a good company to get you your skills that you need to continue to advance. So then now you're going to be almost like a entry level position for a lot of eager, Gen Z, profession or any generation trying to come into cybersecurity. And that's going to prop you up and give you, kind of a marketing and additional advertisement, if you will, that this is a good company to build people up. And we got to look at it as a whole. Depending on where that company is, if they're in the financial sector or if they're in the energy sector, and if their people or their former people that they train go to the same industry, then that's going to make us all, more secure, because they're going to say, hey, I want to give back, right? I want to, share some intelligence that, hey, we saw, some new threat affecting us. We want to share that information. So that's really hard to measure because it's not tangible. But I think that there is some good to bring in entry level position there. But cybersecurity as an entry level position, I probably will not agree with that statement, right? Because everyone is going to have a different thing. In my teams, we had openings for entry level or junior positions. But then we also had roles that required some type of experience. But then just one side note that I'm just thinking about, a lot of junior people, well, I'll just use an example. There's a young professional, she's trying to get in, and she is looking at the security tools that this company uses, right? So they can understand it and, I guess, excel at that interview. I'm like, no. You should not go into those security tools, right? Because that's going to be on the job training, right? And if you look at those tools and have no context of what they do or how they do it within that particular company, it's just going to be a waste of time and resources there. So I just wanted to kind of share that, because a lot of people might be thinking that if they go for these entry level positions and they have a unique tool, whether it's a particular SIM, endpoint detection and response tool, that, I need to learn that. No, once you get in, there should be adequate training to get you up to speed on how those companies or agencies use that particular tool in their internal processes.
Wow, I totally agree there. You have actually, it's a number of important points that we could actually go into so many avenues as it relates to, what you have just mentioned is an ongoing conversation, so many eras, so many debates, but I definitely, look forward to an additional part 2 for us to really deep dive into a lot of these areas of concern that definitely needs addressing. So far in your career, possibly you would have received maybe some amount of guidance or recommendation or something someone might have mentioned to you to say that would have impacted your life, your career. What's that last, final recommendation that you would want to share with anyone, wanting to excel in their cybersecurity journey?
Yeah, just have tenacity. Do not give up, right? You're going to get a lot of no's in this industry, right? But just keep your head up. You are worthy of that position. And for whatever reason, if you don't get it, that's fine. That's not a knock on you, right? You're not short on any skill set or anything like that. It's again, I would, I don't want to put the blame on the hiring manager or the particular team that are looking, but I think we need to expand. We really need to expand what we need as an industry. And, this 3.4 million, unfilled positions globally, I think that's a myth. We have people ready and willing to jump in. It's just for us to open up that door. But for the people that are trying to get into the industry, don't lose hope. Keep your head up and keep on trucking. And reach out to me anytime on my LinkedIn. I'll try to do the best I can to help you out and help you navigate your forthcoming future cyber career.
Daniel, this was indeed an awesome, intriguing, value-added conversation. And no doubt, those who will be watching or listening will definitely gain a lot of insights and value that can, for sure, build and help their cybersecurity career journey. So it was indeed a pleasure having you, on CyberJA today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Love the conversation.
Likewise. So everyone, stay tuned, stay connected for future recordings on the CyberJA show with me, your host, Richard Perry.